out from the rest of this regime is pretty much part and parcel of this regime. Thank you, Benji. Thank you, Ken.
Asante sana Western. Western Shihalaho talks about a clash of ideas. If you Google this, and for those of you who've done political science and history, there's also American President, I think Henry Ford used to talk about a team of rivals. This is a very powerful, concept where, and of course, American government is one of the best examples ever. Lady Bird Johnson quotes clash of ideas. This is very powerful where you have strong minds, sometimes strong voices with opposing ideas, but strong ideas as well, that then you get to the table and you let them battle it out on such heavy issues as, for instance, going to war, or pulling out troops, or going to Mars. I think a lot of you guys have seen what Elon Musk is doing. With his rockets, just the way they're coming back, the reverse thrust and the return to Earth is so accurate, you can actually think it's a video being played backwards. This is why he's the richest man in the world as we speak. The technology is crazy. And so if you're sitting in cabinet and you have these kinds of big minds, this is the opposite of a circus. This is a place where you have big, ambitious minds, ambitious ideas. I dare say something like Shah is very ambitious, it's not easy. It's quite complicated. Just to explain it to medics and ultimately to Mama Mboga and the person in the village, the whole concept of, for instance, community health, practitioners, the CHPs that go around and screen for, cancers and diabetes and the usual stuff, high blood pressure, therefore stroke, etc. I mean, just like the thing of extension officers, if these things are done well, you can have a society and a country that is quite transformed. Actually, I don't know what the problem with implementation is, because as per a lot of the things that were in the plan, as Western is saying, all you need is actual passion, dedication for implementation, leadership from the front, leadership from the president and from his deputy. Somehow this has been elusive. You wonder why. As Ngendo has said, I'm taking a few notes here. Kindiki is more disciplined. That's just a fact. Kindiki is a disciplined, well-educated, knowledgeable, polished, international human rights lawyer. That's what he is. That's a fact of life. He has also not been traveling out of the country, not interested. So if you just look at that, and you're an optimist, and you say, okay, this guy can actually help, his boss to deliver 1, 2, 3, it actually starts to make sense. You can visualize, let me help us dream here. Hey guys, what if the whole thing turns around in 2 years? It's not a long time. It might sound like a long time. In 2 years, what if the whole thing has turned around? Man, that would be like a new morning, fresh dew, beautiful warm rays of sunshine. I know it might sound naive when I say that, but surely our politics and our governance system cannot just be about name calling morning to night, caricaturing the president, name calling. I mean, people are so angry on social media especially and elsewhere. What if this thing actually works? So just to take that feedback and maybe to still scroll back before we go very far, I call him North Carolina, Famba NC Famba. Famba said he talked in personal terms, because unlike some of us here, some of these guys have gone to school here. Some of these ministers have been their teachers and their lecturers at the University of Nairobi. Famba says Kindiki is actually kind and generous. He's helped him even with Harambes. I mean, that's good testimony. He also asserts that Rigiji had no idea of the job. I agree. I mean, he didn't really internalize the calling of high office. He just did not. That's why he was shuttling between Madeira and Major Dong's constituency, looking for Mrima and Kikuyus, etc. This was such a tragedy. This was literally unbelievable. What should Kindiki do? Just assist the president. Be sober, be available, and because you have a lot of trust and you are his lawyer, sometimes tell him difficult things. Tell him, Your Excellency, I know you don't want to hear this. You're not gonna want to hear this. But guess what? I have to tell you this, and it's just the two of us. I'm your elder brother. I believe this thing really made people go crazy. When the president nudged Kindiki a bit, I think because of interior, you kind of have to hold the country together, national security. You're the boss of cops, etc. You have to be kind of serious. But the president was saying now, as deputy president, you can relax a little bit, you can do some politics, you can be more friendly to attract support. I think we'll have a session, Ken, to just talk about that in specific detail, what Kindiki needs to do for his public image, for his accessibility and approachability, because now he's in a political role, because remember, his boss is politician number one in Kenya. So he's politician number two. So now it's not about interior anymore and sticking to the law and just reading the fine print of service standing orders for police, etc. Now you have to do all the things allocated to you by the president, but also take time to help him think about the future. This is just my 2 cents. Nobody has to take my advice, but I'll give it anyway. Puroso, I see you asking for either a question or a comment. So let me assist Ken here and give Puroso and Mchizani Stivo on deck, standby. So Puroso, go, you have the mic. Thank you.
Is he here really? He's not speaking. Mr. Osoro.
He had put up his hand.
Yes.
So let us try. Stevo, you're ready to go? Mchizani, Stevo, go.
Yeah, Benji, I can hear you. I hope you can hear me. Benji, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes.
This spirit of revolution. So hii revolution itaweza kuklia. So when we are talking of draining the swamp, it is not just because of words, but it has a deeper meaning than what we understand. When we talk of draining the swamp, it has a very deeper meaning. When we talk of going back to factory setting, it has a very deeper meaning for this country. So nawaambia wale ambao tunasikizana hapa, anyone that you participate in this revolution, you will enter a book of history, because I tell you, this will be the beginning of this country. But if we continue in this setup, hata saizi tuseme tu kwamba ati Ruto ana resign alafu tukimbili buru tulete this political party tuingiza hapo, we will still have the same problem. And that is why, in my opinion, it might not be popular, it might not sound sweet to our ears, but if you just sit down and have time to digest and even evoke your spiritual eye to see, and that your spiritual ear to listen carefully, you will understand kwamba the problem that we have in this country is not only about this regime. When we talk of the system, people don't understand. System is not the PS. System is a cornerstone where this country is built. And that is why we are saying we need to approve that cornerstone and replace I know maybe kwa sasa inawezekana ni kuzungumza tunazungumza, hatutaelewa, lakini naomba Mungu atupatie uhai, atupatie afya, tuishi miaka mingi. Kama siku moja utakuja kukumbuka hii maneno, because najua no matter how long it will take, one day we will come and have the same conversation. My brothers and sisters, one day, I am not a prophet, misi mganga, but I want to tell you, there is something that I already see. The problem that we have, some people, they rush and say, it is a political problem that needs a political solution. I say no, it is not a political problem that needs a political solution. There is a very deep-rooted problem that we have in this country. That is a problem. We are still under the chain of our colonial masters. Hiyo nyororo imezidi kutukaza. And that is why it has reached a point where even the veins have been narrowed. There's a problem. We don't only need a political solution. We need to free ourselves from the bondage. If we continue living in this bondage, I'm telling you, we will never prosper no matter what. Even if we bring Pope to be president of this country. We have to go to that problem from the roots. But I tell you, that way, that direction, it is a very difficult path to follow. It is a very difficult path to follow. The reason why mtu kama Raila Odinga hajawahi kuwa president, it is now that he has understand himself na akaanza sasa naye kuingia na kuplay along like them. But it's because his ideologies were not compatible with those ideologies of our oppressor. But at some point, he became conflicted. And he lost the track. This country is haunted by the blood of our freedom fighters. That they did not get justice. They did not get to enjoy their blood and sweat. And also their cries of freedom is still ringing in the heart of this country. So not unless first we go for that freedom, not unless we go and fight for that freedom, the spirit of those fallen heroes will never leave this country to rest. That is the reality, and that is a problem that is handling this country. So that is my opinion. Ndio nilikuwa nasema, after the movement, we don't need to rush to have a political outfit to govern this country. We will need to have a transitional body that will be comprised from the 47 counties and representing all the tribes of Kenya, including religion and the marginalized group. Then now we will come now and delve. Tunaanza kutoa kama vile mtu unabagua mchele, unachagua mchele. One problem after the other. The injustices, the land injustices, historical land injustices. Tunaanza kuaddress moja moja. We make to make sure that we have that total freedom. Disassociate ourselves from foreign infiltration, including nimesema. First is kuhakikisha kwamba tumekata uhusiano with Commonwealth. We don't need to be a member of Commonwealth in whatsoever. Commonwealth does not benefit us. It only benefits them. And yet we are funding them. They never do anything for us for free. And even if sometimes they purport to help us, it is our money that they are taking, and again they come and give us our money and purport to help us. They have the monopoly of taking our resources. We need to disassociate ourselves and claim our sovereignty, claim our independence, claim our freedom. Yes, so, yeah, Matea, I will come to you shortly. Then let me get Justus, if maybe you have something to say, then I'll get back to you. And of course, you know what to do, because we need to rejuvenate our spirit. So Justus, kindly just hold on. Matea, I don't even want you to speak. I just want you to take us and remind ourselves our patriotism. Please play for us something. Give us national anthem. Let us remind ourselves the spirit of our heroes. Asante Matea. Hii nyimbo tutaendelea kucheza kila wakati because inashinda nyimbo yote ile unaweza kusikiza. Lazima tujikumbushe. Lazima tujue kwamba ni wajibu wetu kulinda taifa letu la Kenya against the internal oppression or external oppression. Ni wajibu wetu, ni wajibu wangu, ni wajibu wako. Wale watunzi ambao walitunga hii nyimbo, actually they were inspired. It was not just a song that just came. These are people that were inspired. Wakati wote lazima tujikumbushe hiyo maneno, word by word. We can understand our responsibility to protect this country, our responsibility to demand the better for this country, our responsibility to make sure that in every generation, as we hand over the country to the next generation, we always have to make sure that we are handing over a better country than we found it. That should be the spirit of this country. It is very sad that anytime we hand over this country to the next generation, we are handing over a country of cries, a country of injustice, a country of oppression. And this circle will continue and continue. And that is why every generation, they keep on crying, they keep on fighting, they keep on suffering. Until some people, they regret being born in this country. They begin to curse even a creator who created them in this country. We cannot continue like this. We have the ability, we have the power, we have the zeal, we have the courage to turn around this country. It is a high time that we must understand that changing this country is a personal responsibility. No one will do for you. It's not a politician. It's not a political class. It's not a group of people. They are not clergy. They are not those foreign. They are not those Western powers. But it is our power. So, Justus, tumekuweka hapa sana. Kindly, you can give us closing remarks and anything you want to tell us, and we'll appreciate.
Thank you so much. I feel more inspired Oh, I'm burning, I'm ready to go. And this inspiration should reverberate across the nation. Let it reach every Kenyan, and may they know that this is the right time. And I agree with you, freedom is not given, it's taken. And the process is unilateral. It requires all of us. And if we collectively come out, yes, we can. And thank you for the number of issues you've raised. Allow me to pick just on a few, especially when you talked about the capitalism policy and which policies should we follow. And you also raised issue on our sovereignty, especially to the external forces. And then Matea raised an issue on the relevant the constitution that can enhance constitutionalism. I'll just share something about them briefly on which economic policy is suitable. Interesting enough, in my research, the good book in Jeremiah 6:16 says, when you're in crossroads, go back to the ancient paths where you lost the way and you shall find rest for your soul. And the old times and various economic models that we've had in the world, because capitalism is where you get value, you get, a reward for the value that you put. And then communism is where we get value for the reward that we put. We get rewarded for the value that we put. So it's still a we. But then I found another interesting economics policy. We will be discussing this, and we've been discussing this in Justice and Freedom Party. And tailor-making our economic policies to be more suitable around similar to this. And this economic policy was actually was in Ethiopia. Ethiopia happened to be the only country in Africa that is. And when you read into the reasons to why they were able to be so tight and not be vulnerable to external inducement, one secret lies around their economic policy, which is called the 10 Commandments. And I'm so surprised. Even me, when I heard the name, I was like, wait a minute, it was called 10 Commandments. But in this case, in this economic policy, there is a value to everyone, even whoever has not added any input, even to the poor, the weak and the vulnerable, the widows. They were still benefiting from the economic proceeds of that given community. So there was no one who was lacking. So no one could be corrupted. No one would be could be vulnerable to external inducement. No wonder when the external forces came, no one was willing to sell out the country. Patriotism was 100%. But when you go to capitalism, where you get value based on your input, or a communism where we get value based on our input, you may miss out a certain element of the society. And actually, the majority of our society today, as we speak, are the poor. So when we talk about reward for value, we may actually not factor in a majority of our constituents, of our citizens, who needs to be brought to the table or be brought to power so that they can also continue adding value. Because for us to eradicate poverty, then we must have policies that are suitable, that are contextual, and that are relevant to the people. Yeah, so there is even a better proposal of another economic policy called 10 Commandments. on sovereignty. It is really disturbing that even recently World Health, WHO, and UN were tabling a requisition for them to have more sovereign authority over their member states, because as it stands, it has been corporate based. But when they're asking for sovereign authority, it means that now they can even supersede your sovereign authority as citizens that we've given to ourselves through the Constitution, and sovereignly administer specific orders. Like now the corona thing, if everybody must be vaccinated, this time it will not come from your government, it will come straight from them. And you've seen what Bill Gates are capable of. But guess what? Ruto is the first person who signed these things. So when we're talking about Ruto being incompetent, it's not just about a blame game. We don't just hate Ruto, but Ruto is incompetent. He is tying us into certain key decisions that actually required public participation, if possible, a referendum. Why would you give out our sovereign authority just because of you're a member of a UN? And that, actually, I think they're escalating it down, and these issues are also affecting AU. So if we want to restructure these issues and understand about the significance of our sovereignty, then we must have leadership, a leadership of us, not a leadership of them. And Motea, when you raised an issue on the Constitution, well, during the Constitution before 2010, in our participation, we raised a number of concerns in terms of the most suitable constitutional model, because they give us about 5 types of constitutions in the world. Constitution as a frame of government, the United States one, and the Constitution as a code, the German one. The Constitution as a revolutionary manifesto, like the Cuban, like the Libyan. The Constitution as a modern adaptation to the ancient tradition, the Israeli or the British one. And then the Constitution as a political ideal, which is mostly in the colonialized states. And this type of constitution, they say it is a replacement replacement colonialism or colonizer. And it has significances. Some of its behaviors is constant amendments. And when you look at the other models, like frame of government where people constitute themselves among the aliens, we've seen how ruthless and how racist Americans have been. I think after 1967, that is when they were even amending their constitution to allow the blacks to vote. And we ask ourselves, and also the constitution as a code, the rigid one, like the German one, and then again the constitution as a modern adaptation to the ancient tradition, which is now the British are using, and the Israeli are using. This type of constitution is not a written constitution. It's a society modernizing their ancient traditions, their spiritualities, their religious practices, and is not written. So I ask the experts then who are making the constitution, which model actually was suitable for us? Because as Kenyans, do we still want to continue with the constitutional model which the colonialists used to set political ideals that are not attainable? And in most of the cases, they use the constitution in the political ideal setup to remove the leaders. Or should we have a suitable constitution that is relevant to us? And when I visited, we shared various types of constitutions that were existing in this country. When they went to Lancaster, Njuru Ncheke had a written constitution that they sent there, and it was never adopted. Wekavirondo Zonagis, they had a constitution that was never accepted. we've had constitutions, we've constituted ourselves before the coming of the colonialists. We didn't have jails, we didn't have orphanages, and at criminal level, criminality was low. No one was throwing away their old people into old people's home. No one was throwing away their children into children orphanages. How was the community taking care of itself? There was no neighbor who could eat, have plenty, and the other neighbor is lacking. The community was structured and it was effective, it was in order. This model of constitution worked for us. And actually, this is what the British and the Israeli stole from us. And that's what they're using to rule themselves. It's not a written constitution. So if we were to go back to being who we are, then we must then begin to discuss the correct constitutional model. But when we put on us a constitution as a political ideal, an abstract ideal that is not attainable, that can only be used as a check and balance to remove and control whoever they put in place, whoever they want in leadership, why should we keep on rewarding the colonialists when we have opportunities to liberate ourselves? Yeah, so this model of constitution still is not viable, is not suitable. So Fabish, those are hard facts that can make me agree with you that yes, we can suspend the constitution and call for a revolution, an extreme departure, then lay a proper foundation and a proper framework that can help, that is contextual, that is of us, that is relevant to this geographical location. I guess I can share more, but if you allow me, I think I can land at that. And I want to appreciate you for this session. Remain steadfast. Do not turn to the left, do not turn to the right. Keep forward, and we are behind you, we are together. I am certain that we shall make it happen. This is very possible. Let's keep moving. I appreciate all of us, and thank you so much for giving me audience. I'm looking forward to more. Have a blessed night.
Thank you. And don't forget to mobilize for us. We'll be expecting that you will be one of a great mobilizer about 11/11. And yes, we will engage even privately on other strategic matters on how we are going to mobilize the way going forward on fast about 11/11, so that we can be able, because movement revolution is about building momentum. So we need a good mobilization because we have to get good numbers.
Thank you. I'm committed. Count me in all that you do. Just keep me posted.
Thank you. Matea, do you have something to add on Justus before you go?
Yeah. I just wanted to be able to reply to him before he left. Yeah, I mean that's I'm of the same mind. You know, how are we supposed to use something that's outside of Kenya or the geographical area to benefit people in that geographical area? It doesn't make any sense. So to have, you know, we don't need to do that again to replace it with something else. It's going to be. I'm sorry, there's cans flying around my porch and stuff. We don't need to replace that again with something that's going to have, you know, maybe it works for a few years, but then in eventuality, it's going to end up shifting back to the same thing and allowing outside influence. So, I mean, that's just my brief thoughts. I absolutely agree, 110%. But
Xavier?
Yes, thank you very much, Fabish, for giving me this time. And I'm just calming myself down because the revolutionary fervor is so great in me. Now, if you allow me, I wanted our friend Matea to play the song interlude, but I also have it here. If you don't mind, I can play it.
Okay, I thought maybe you have something. Okay, thank you so much, Justus. You are free to keep on conversation with us, but if you have other engagement, thank you for joining us.
But I can make my submission and then play the song at the end. Maybe Justus can remain around to see what he can pick for just 5 minutes, 3 minutes. If that's okay.
Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to read to us all an excerpt from Che Guevara's biography when he was addressing the last speech he made while in Africa. Che's last speech on the African continent was also swan song as a public figure, or as it is sometimes discreetly referred to in Cuba. There's a Cuban language there. On February 25th in Algiers, speaking before the Second Economic Seminar of African-Asian Solidarity, Che discarded all ambiguity, called upon the socialist powers to disinterestedly support third world liberation movements and to underwrite the cost of transforming their underdeveloped nations into the socialist societies. He addressed the 40-odd African and Asian delegations represented as a colorful array of third world states, newly independent nations, and active guerrilla movement as brothers. Then, on behalf of the people of America, Che defined the cause that united his.
Haina haja hata kushinda sisi hata tukimpiga hata hatuzungumziange. Sasa Ruto tena anaambia Gachagua tu nyumbani.
Ndio nasema kama sisi hatuwezi ingia bunge bila kuelektiwa, nao hawa wabunge wasikuwe wanakuja kanisa kwenye tunasoma. Kama mtu asomi kanisa yenu si Mokolino, asikuje. Kama asomi kanisa yenu nyinyi wa Catholic, asikuje. Sahii nimewaona hapa kwa TV wamewekwa tule tukofia twa green na red. Huko alikuwa anaenda kufanya nini? Hata sisi tunafaa kuambia waondoke. Wanakuja kwa kanisa kupaka kanisa uchafu. Kanisa ndio imemweka hapo. Tena saa hii ameanza kurudi kwa makanisa. Hata sisi tusimame cover movement. Tuambie ukweli. Kama sisi hatuwezi ingia bunge, hata nyinyi msikuje kanisa. Na kama unaenda kanisa, enda kanisa yenye unaendanga. Usikuje na huge of MP, huge of governors, huge of MCA. Unakuja nao kwa hiyo kanisa kufanya nini? Nyinyi ndio mnajaza kanisa na msomagi hiyo kanisa. Hiyo kitu hata sisi kama movement ya tutaalau. Na kesho nitafanya contact kama hiyo. Niwaambie vizuri. Kama sisi hatuingii bunge, msiwe mnakuja na huge of MP kwa kanisa, huge of MCA, huge of kama leo nimeona walikuwa karibu nini? Basi mzima kwa kanisa. Mudavadi, Ruto, Sakaja, Pasaris, Susan Kihika hata ameanza kukuja Nairobi na hakuwa anakuja. Watu simamisha hiyo jinga yao. Wanatuambia nini hawa sasa?
Well,
Gachagua should prepare himself. Kwa sababu
anakuja kufanya nini? Na hakuwa anakuja Nairobi.
Maseno. You know I'm sure tulichosema.
Hello, vipi? Nasikiza tu.
Wanaona wanataka kufunga Gachagua sasa. Mnaweza kataza mtu by the way Gachagua akona freedom of expression. Kwa hivyo hiyo interview wangestahili wamkansulia interview. Hapana. This is not too much. Ruto comes through bwana. Maseno.
Unajua dawati yes. Hata sisi hata ndio tumefungwa. Hapa kiwanja yetu ya Duberi hatuwezi enda. Kiwanja yetu ya Ruiru hatuwezi enda. Kiwanja yetu ya Thika hatuwezi enda. Sasa hatutakuwa tunaenda kwa TV. Anataka tuwe tunaenda wapi? Na bado tuliambiwa na Lee Kenyanjui hawa kuelekti togege utu tumutu anaitwa Kawajiko, Kagombe, sijui Kururia, majina za buzi. Usaisikia huko ng'ambo wakiwa na majina za buzi kama hapa Central, majina zenye hata hazijulikanagi. Ndio tunabeba ufala hapa. Yeah?
Sumumpiga hawa watu, kwani mnawaogopa? Si wanaishi na nyinyi, simuwavuruge. Kwani iko nini?
Sisi hata hatuwaonangi.
Hakuna, wakiingia nini ground mnawafukuza, mnawapiga. Hata hizo manyumba yao nyumbani mnawachoma, wanatoka. Asituletee watu, kwani Kenya ni yao? Gai. Wa Kenya pia sisi tumecheza sana.
Na hatuongei. Imagine saa hii uwezi enda kulala pale kiwanja ya Ruiru, juu utasikwa na polisi. Uwezi enda Dubeli, uwezi enda Thika Stadium.
Kimani,
This man is trying to tell us.
I found even the DCC wa Kiambu. You remember Masharia?
Alipelekwa tukaletewa huyu muuaji. Kuna
muuaji
kutoka Narok.
Nani?
Alitoka Narok. Huyu muuaji alikuwa anataka kuua Murara. Sini ameletwa Kiambu.
Sasa imagine that DCC was covering the whole of Kiambu, the whole of it, kutoka Gatuanyaga all the way. He was aspiring kupanda juu. Kwenye amepelekwa karudishwa chini. Now, when you look at what is there, kama wamekataza mpaka Gachagua kuenda kwa Inoro, and this was just an interview like any other, why then should they call us for press also? Press meeting, press due what, briefing, na wanakataza mtu. Kwa nini? On which ground should that?
Kenye tunafaa kufanya ni kitu moja. Tumachi siku moja on a Sunday. Siku moja tumachi from pahali mtu wako kama uko Nairobi, Kiambu, Nyandarua, tukuja hapa Nairobi mguu on a Sunday moja. Tutokee tuingie Uhuru Park. Tuambie sasa hii ni kiwanja ya public. Sisi ni public. Sasa hatuwezi peleka kitu ya public huko. Na nyinyi tunawaroho kwenda kwa kanisa. Imagine hata nimesikia mama mmoja huko ameongea vibaya Ruto akiwa anainamisha kichwa. Hizi kanisa zingine hata tunafaa kwenda na bomu tuzipige. Ama pasta matapeli hawa.
Niseme kitu.
Yeah.
Dawak, for today, jana na leo, nimekaa chini nika-analyze vitu mingi sana na nikaona kweli sisi Kenyans tumebeba ujinga ingine kubwa sana. Wale wenye wametravel nje wanajua tumebeba ujinga kubwa sana. Kenya, nikianza sema kitu simple, Kenya our GDP iko around nearly 200 trillion by today. Around kitu cha 200 trillion. Nilikuwa na analyze Kenya na Botswana. Botswana wamehangaika for the last nearly 70 years. Walikuwa na bad leadership, wajaifurahia. But now wamepata morara, wenye walikuwa nataka. Wamepata. Saa hii, ungesikia manifesto ya huyo Kenya aitwa Boko. Sema, umtu akona akili. Kitu ya kwanza anapunguza tax. Tax inaenda chini. Hii pesa ya yenye walikuwa wamekaziwa walikuwa wanapatiwa na 65 years. Amesema watakuwa wanapatiwa na 65, wanapatiwa na 60. Na amesema ana invest kwa hospitali na madawa. Nearly atakuwa anatumia karibu around 100 trillion every year. Sisi hapa nika-compare our GDP na Botswana. Nikapata GDP yetu iko juu. Botswana hata hawajafika, tumewacha na karibu 80 trillion, tukombelewa na 80. Na ukiangalia shule za Botswana kutoka baby class, tuseme kutoka tu pre-primary school mpaka university ni free. You don't pay for anything. Government inakulipa kwenda shule. Hospitali ya kila mtu. Hakuna pale atunaambiwa na kadi ya insurance. Hospitali ni free kwa kila mtu. Ukwe ni foreigner, wewe hospitali ni free. kama umemaliza shule
Bro, Botswana ni
uko.
just 2.5 million. Watu kidogo sana hawa.
Yes.
Kama
Imagine.
Kiambu.
Na kama umemaliza shule huko, ati government inakucreatea job. Na bado inakucreatea capital pale utaenda kuuza mazao yako. Ukuje uangalie Kenya, uangalie zile vitu zenye Botswana wanakuza. Ni vitu zenye pia sisi tuko nazo hapa. Zenye tunaikiwa same restriction. Nao paka watermelon wanauziwa. Government inakuja inakupatia profit, inarudisha ile pesa yao ya capital kidogo kidogo. Na hakuna mtu mwenye unapata Botswana hana nyumba. Karibu kila mtu mwenye kwa Botswana kuna nyumba, wanaishi fiti. Sisi hapa tumekaliwa vibaya sana. Nilikuwa naangalia inauguration ya Kindiki na nikajua mnaona wale watu wote mliona kwa hiyo field, all of them in the goons. Those are publics ama civil servant goons wote. It doesn't matter alikuwa ni askari alikuwa ni nani, wao wote ni goons. Hiyo ni timu moja, walijileta wote, walijikusanyika. Juu mimi nikiuliza KDF ilienda kwa inauguration ya deputy president ya nini? Ni kitu gani ilikuwa ya muhimu pale? Ni kitu gani walikuwa na present pale? Hakuna. Polisi walienda na gari za vita, zile zinafaa ziende kwa place kama huko pale hakuna security, kama huko Mandera, Baringo, walipeleka gari za vita Nairobi za kazi gani? Mavifaru zilikuwa zapelekwa Nairobi za kazi gani? Kwani kulikuwa na watu walikuwa wanaenda kupiga sniffer dogs kabla hata muingie, mmekoa sniffer dogs. Sio kumaanisha wale watu walikuwa wanakuja kutikuza viti, hao wote ni goons. Si civilian walikuwa goons. Wenye walikuja kuja kile hizo vitu wote walikuwa goons. Serikali haiamini watu wao. Paki inaenda kuwatafutia sniffer dogs. Sasa pale sisi tumefika. Mimi ndio nimeamini kweli we are on the right track. Morara pale tunaenda Morara atachukua hii kitu.